very own hands might have wrought on their worst days, people saw themselves as basically decent and expected basic decency back from the world. Surely there had to be ways of looking for that kind of eye-to-eye decency. Surely there are ways to study its power and its limits, particularly when people were faced with tempestuous times. Were there communities out there that were good at being good when things got bad? In my research on memory, I'd studied practices of resistance and persistence. Could there be communities that were somehow resistant to violence, persistent in decency? I didn't know exactly what I was onto, but I knew I wanted to study it. In shorthand, I called it peace. But peace was hard to find. I dug into contemporary scholarship in anthropology, sociology, and political science. I went through databases and bibliographies and talked to colleagues who had been in the trenches with me in the study of a tumultuous Eurasia, and to other colleagues in peace studies programs or peace institutes. What I found was this: there is vastly more contemporary social science on violence than there is on peace. And most contemporary empirical research that says it is about peace is really about conflict. About resolving conflict, cleaning up after conflict, about programs to bring aid to people in conflict settings, about law and justice within the context of conflict. On the whole, these literatures are about peace only insofar as they point to the suffering of millions and lament. This kind of work is important, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I wanted social science that landed smack on the inside of peaceful societies and studied human interactions at ground level there, distilling something about how peace works in its tight mechanics. I wanted empirical research that regarded the social body up close and asked about its long-term health and stability. Research that asked how, in hard times, regular decency can sometimes translate into extraordinary kindness. Here and there I found brilliant examples of work like this, but strikingly few of them. Why, I began to wonder, is peace so hard to think about? Or, conversely, why is violence so easy? When writers and academics talk about violence, it can seem to have a thingness to stand out from the background. It can be counted: a shot, an explosion, a bullet, a death, or so we believe. It can be added up and placed into data sets. In the aggregate and with a measure of confidence, political scientists can fit violent acts into models, which they use to make statements about the world. Violence happens, a gun goes off, a person is killed, a neighborhood is raided, a border is breached. The N is large here, the data takes shape. We can decide that more violence happens, say, when there are more young men than usual, or when there is a weak state, or mountains, or too much petrol in an economy. Violence happens, and it is awful, and it is counted. And from that counting, the contours of probable outcomes are given a local habitation and a name. But can peace be counted? Where is it located? When does it happen? Peace lacks this analyzable thingness. It seems like a non-event, a null set. Characterizations of peace and peaceful societies, from the Eden of the Bible to the radiant future of Lenin, look dull and flat, or else gauzy and kitsch. As a child, I would leaf through the children's illustrated Bible in the dentist's waiting room. In the Eden of those illustrations, religious peace looks like the beatific expressions of light-skinned people gazing heavenward. Perhaps a lamb sits there too, legs folded, under a tree. Peace is bland and blonde, utterly lacking the dark ring of truth. The political peace of Marx and other visionaries of the 19th century is not much easier to make out. In the end, at any rate in Marx's version, it looks like getting to hunt and fish when you want and passing around the milk can so everyone gets a fair share. It's the end of history there, in the land of peace, at the end of time, after the wars have all been fought and all the blood is shed. On the subject of capitalism, Marx was keen-eyed, detail-oriented, and extreme.